In this tutorial, we are going to talk about writing an app that takes three numbers from the user and then displays the maximum or the largest value of these three numbers. The algorithm is as follows. You start and you read input A, B, C. These are the three numbers. Then you say if A is greater than or equal to B and A is greater than or equal to C, then obviously max is A. If B is greater than A and B is greater than or equal to C, then max is B. The same if C is greater than or equal to A and C is greater than or equal to B, then max is C. And then we're going to display max, and then that's the end of the algorithm. Let's see how we can write this one in App Inventor. So, as usual, again, you sign in, and then you start a new project. Let's say we call it max of three numbers. That's the name of the project. And then you say, OK. Now, the first thing we're going to do is to change the title, and then we're going to call this one maximum of three numbers. My maximum is incorrect. Maximum of three numbers. So that's the title. Now we need three labels and three text boxes or three numbers. We usually drag and drop one horizontal layout, but now we are going to use what we call a table arrangement. So we are going to draw the table arrangement. Now the table arrangement has two columns, which is great, but we need three rows. So I'm going to change this one to three rows. Now, the widths, again, we want the field parent. So we are going to have a table like this one, which has three rows and two columns. You don't see it because you haven't put anything inside. Now, if I go to interface and drag and drop a label, you can see a square appears here. So I put one here. I put another label here, and I put another label at the bottom. Now I have to put text boxes here. So I'm going to go to text box, drag and drop one text box here. Now we are going to drag and drop three text boxes. You drag it and you see the square appears, just drag it there. Another one, the square appears, drag it there. Another one, square appears, drag it there. So now you have three labels and three text boxes. Now let's change the text of text boxes. We call it number one. Then we call this one number two. Then we call this one number three. Now for text boxes, this one we call number one. This one we call number two. And this one we call number three. Now, one thing which I have to explain to you about text boxes is that if you have noticed, when you run the program or the app, you will see a faded hint for text box 1 or hint for text box 2. This one, you can change it by going down and looking for You can click on the text box and then go down and you see the hint here. Just type something else. Say type, okay, enter number. The second one, the same thing, enter number. And the last one, the same thing, enter number. Now it's a little bit more descriptive of what exactly the user has to type. Now we drag and drop a button here and we change the text to find the maximum. So everything is set here. Now we go to blocks. If you look at this algorithm, we have a temporary variable called max. So this is what we have to do. We are going to create a variable. We call it max. Initially, we set it to 0 because max is going to deal with numbers. Now we are going to use button 1 when it's clicked, and then we're going to have our if condition. So we are going to have if, again going back to this one, it says if this one is true, then max is equal to this one. Otherwise we are going to check this one. Otherwise we check this one. So we are going to have an else here, else if. This one we use for the second one. Again, the first one and then the second one we can check here. So we are going to say if a is greater than or equal to, so greater than or equal to, so we are going to check to see if number 1, the text, is greater than equal to number 2 text. And again, going back to algorithm, it says and. So we need an and operator now. So we go here. If you go, and operator is under logic. So I go here and you see this one which says and. And so if this is true, and also the other one. So I'm going to duplicate this one. And I'm going to say if number 1 is greater than number 3 text. So this is the whole condition here. If number 1 is greater than or equal to number 2 and number 1 is greater than or equal to number 3, then we're going to say max is equal to number 1. So we are going to say set max is equal to number 1. Else, we are going to copy this one again, and then we're going to put it here. If this time number 2 is greater than or equal to number 3, and number 2 is greater than or equal to number 1, then we're going to say max is equal to number 2 now. Now we need, if you go back to algorithm again, if this is not true, this is not true, then this one has to be true. So we're going to go here and we're going to click on this guy and we're going to bring an else here. So now we're going to have this condition. If this is true, do this one. Otherwise, if this is true, do this one. Otherwise, we duplicate this one. Then we know by this stage, number 3 is the maximum between all of them. Now that we have found the maximum, we are going to use our notifier, which I think we don't have notifier here. So we're going to go to the designer and we're going to drag and drop a notifier here. So now we have the notifier. We go back to the blocks, and we are going to use the notifier, and we're going to use the dialog message, and we're going to output max. So we're going to get max, and we're going to output it. But to change the text, again, we take this blank one, we say maximum of 3 numbers, or anything else you want. And the same here, I'm going to change it to OK. And that's it. That's all there is to it, to our program based on the algorithm. Now I can go and check it again using my app Inventor Emulator. The emulator, you can see, is the same. Now you can see the hint is gone. It says enter number, enter number, enter number. So let's start by entering a number. Let's say 5, 10, and 9. You can see the maximum is 10. Let's see what it says. Maximum is 10. Now let's change this one to 19. The maximum is 19. Let's change this one to 19 again. See what will happen. Maximum still 19.